Hey, so I need to review the current issue of Forbes Africa for you. This is the September 2017 issue. This is a very important publication, at least as far as I'm concerned, just because on the conversation Forbes is having on blockchain and cryptocurrency, number one, Bitcoin. So if you get it for no other reason, get it for that. So the stories that caught my eye, well, first and foremost, Johannesburg is best for African startups. So there's been a ranking done on the best African cities for startups, according to this index that was released by a Berlin Best organization. And it ranks Johannesburg at number 71, Cairo at 80, Tunis at 83, Nairobi at 84, and Lagos at 85. As a Kenyan, I'd like to dispute it. I still think we beat Cairo and Tunis. Johannesburg, I will see whether I agree at all with anything else. However, the top 5 cities are Singapore, Helsinki, San Francisco, Berlin, and Stockholm. I am not sure. Artificial intelligence more dangerous than nuclear war. There's an article, very small, very important, by Elon Musk, and I think you need to read it. And then, of course, a very, very in-depth focus on Bitcoin and blockchain in this particular issue, and I think it's so important. So one of the things that caught my eye just in the beginning of the entire article is that cryptocurrencies, which is what they're called, are the tip of the iceberg when it comes to blockchain technology. If I was you and you're sitting there saying, bit who? Crypto what? Start by trying to understand what blockchain technology is. Once you understand that, then you begin to understand what cryptocurrencies are, why they are sought after, why everybody's talking about them, and why you should be part of that conversation. Very many, of course, traditional bankers will disagree with you. I think even right now, if you spoke to CBK, they'll say, no, we're not going near that. So it's one of those things, you need to enlighten yourself. You need to figure out what everybody else knows and what you need to know, and then decide whether you want to go there. Okay. Of course, what I'm loving is that Forbes Africa also has done this, the Emperor's New Coins. So they believe they're in the middle of the biggest bubble of the decade, 100 billion worth of cryptocurrency with little intrinsic value. A long-term system will emerge. Nobody really knows where it will go to. But not before a handful of visionaries and hacksters make billions from the greater fools. So you need to find out where you fit into this narrative. I think this is going to be your cryptocurrency Bible for a little while before anybody else actually comes up with anything. I actually earmarked, and you'll notice that when I went through the magazine and marked the things I wanted. Are cryptos riches tax-free? I think that's something you ought to know about. But there's so many conversations here. So I'm hoping that among the people who will grab this issue of Forbes Africa, it's not just you and me who are thinking, can I become rich? I'd like our banking sector to get a hold of it so they start giving us their views. I'd like to know that KRA will get a hold of it and read it. Don't just dismiss it. And, you know, I can only speak for Kenya. I can't speak for the rest of the continent. But I remember when we came up with M-Pesa, it was one of those things that even the banking sector looked at like, and CBK was like, and our then, you know, finance minister was like, in fact, I remember a very famous quote from the late John Mishuki. He said, this M-Pesa thing will not end well. Want to bet? So don't be one of those people who poo-poo everything. You know, I'd rather you're enlightened as opposed to not at all. So please, please have a look at that. And then, of course, Forbes Africa has done a case of the First Lady with a whipcord who walked free. Oh, Grace. Amazing Grace, as she's known as some. But then again, if I was married to Uncle Bob, I might be a little spare. Nailed by imposters, a very important focus on identity theft. And obviously, you know it's really, really possible, especially because we're online all the time. And that's what's making, you know, identity theft very, very possible. This particular look in Forbes Africa is looking at the stories of 2 different women. Please read, because this could be your story too, okay? You don't want to be one of those people thinking, what's going on? And then, of course, there's a focus on prisoners. Yeah, very interesting. The grind that comes with crime. So having a criminal record, and this especially in South Africa, for a less serious offense that occurred years ago should not be used to bar someone from gainful employment. clearly there's some systems on this continent that are clear. You've been caught doing something, it looks like we're not talking to you anymore. And then failing and fading into history. There is an amazing focus in the current issue of Forbes Africa on malls, on shops. I noticed the conversation on Stutterfords was really, really, for me, I mean, my heartbeat went da-da-da-da-da. And there was a focus on retail and what is happening to stores, because you're not going into a store, you're going online to do your shopping. And empty shelves, unpaid bills, and angry workers. The person who did this story with a key focus on Kenya and Nakumatt and Uchumi did a pretty decent job, and I would suggest you read it. The other reason I'd like you to get a hold of the current issue of Forbes Africa is to look at battling giants. This is because you are looking at people like Google, IBM, and Microsoft going toe-to-toe as they begin to understand that AI is real. Artificial intelligence is not a joke. It's not something that you saw on Star Trek. It's not something that you think is part of, oh, the science fiction novels and movies. Not anymore. And the giants are actually making sure that they are part of the conversation. However, I think it's really important you look at what Elon Musk said about it. There is an interesting piece about black metal, music in this particular issue of Forbes Africa. And then, because I'm Kenyan, I got a hang of Binyavanga Wanaina's narrative in this issue. Now, something I did not know. Apparently, Binyavanga says he knew at the age of 10 that he was gay, but he refused to talk about it until Chimamanda asked him. I didn't know Chimamanda is the one who asked Binyavanga whether he was gay, but apparently she asked him, and he, of course, said no. But he said it wasn't until she asked that he said, I need to deal with this. So, it is a mouthful. It's going to take you a month to read, but it is a read you're not going to put down. Forbes Africa, September. Get your copy, okay? No matter where you are on the continent. Thank you.